After all these years, it's very surprising that this is pretty much the first standalone Ninjago comic run to be released. And no, I'm not counting the little comics, the magazines, or the graphic novels, those are separate things. The premise for the comic itself is very intriguing, focusing on Garmadon during his absence after March of the Oni. The only downside, however, is that thanks to Crystallized, the comic isn't canon, which is a shame because this was a much better backstory as to what Garmadon was doing after season 10, but that's enough rambling, let's begin with issue number 1. Issue 1 begins with a nice little 2-page recap of Garmadon's life up to this point in time, and where it has brought him present day, which is Garmadon sleeping in a forest still haunted by his past actions, which, not to jump the gun, but this right here is one of the best character arcs in all of Ninjago. The comic continues with a montage of Garmadon traveling Ninjago until he encounters 2 villagers getting attacked by a bear, who knocks out Garmadon in one punch since his powers have seemingly weakened from his lack of fighting, but is able to scare off the bear thanks to the assistance of the villagers, who he then escorts back to Toon Moon Village. Named after its specialty that is essentially magical steroids, Garmadon agrees to help the villagers defeat the big boss of the bears, Kuma, in exchange for the super steroid tea, and issue 1 ends with Ultraviolet, now a member of the Reformed Sons of Garmadon group known as the Red Crows, under the command of Lord Magra, the main antagonist of this miniseries, who uses Garmadon's old equipment such as his helmet from the Oni trilogy and later on a Skulkin battle axe. I don't know if it's just me, but these issues feel very short, especially compared to other comics I've reviewed on the channel, such as Adventure Time Season 11. Although the art is absolutely incredible, and that's not even bringing up the comic covers that we desperately need posters of at some point. But anyway, on to issue 2. Issue 2 begins in the past right after March of the Oni, where Garmadon relaxing by the monastery and has a really heartwarming moment with Wu, swapping out his menacing Emperor Garmadon helmet for Wu's more peaceful straw hat. Back in the present, Garmadon sets off to take down Kuma, while the Red Crows make their move and attack Twin Moon Village, demanding to know where Garmadon is. At Kuma's lair, Garmadon makes his first strike, although he's no match for the giant grizzly bear, so Garmadon has the brilliant idea of jumping into the bear's mouth, which ends up with him getting swallowed after getting hit by a barrel of moon tea. Inside the bear, Garmadon is challenged by the ghost of his past once again, but refuses to give in to his former self and instead gulps down the barrel of tea like a chug jug, bringing forth his Oni form, and gives us one of the hardest images of all time. After defeating the big guy, the other bears run off and Kuma makes her appearance and is able to talk, and also knows about the Oni, and also suggests she's immortal somehow. Weird that the bear is the most interesting new character in this miniseries, but sure. This issue really shows off how beautiful the art of these comics are, which is evidently shown by Garmadon's clash with Kuma. After burying the bear, Garmadon is weakened from chugging the barrel and shows his Oni trilogy self once again, refusing to accept help from other people. The issue ends with a page of the Red Crows torching Twin Moon Village and actually contains a bit of concept art in the last couple of pages, which is really neat, even giving us a better look at the Red Crow's uniform. So far, this series is really solid, and once again, the art is absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, on to issue number 3. Issue 3 opens with Garmadon and the other villagers celebrating on their return from defeating Kuma until they witness the destruction caused by the Red Crows while they were gone. Min rushes off to help her mother, and oh yeah, I haven't mentioned any of the villagers by name before. In my opinion, these guys aren't really that memorable, and are just kind of there to give Garmadon a reason to try and become good again. Anyways, the Red Crows stand no chance against Min's mom and also back off when Garmadon shows up still nonchalantly eating chicken. This moment also shows that the former SOG members still feared Garmadon and also respect him as a powerful leader. The fact that the SOG rebranded really strikes a nerve with Garmadon and demands Ultraviolet tell him why, to which we find out that the SOG tried to carry on Garmadon's villainous legacy, but eventually gave up after being constantly arrested by the ninja, and then joined Lord Magra after he broke them out of Cryptarian prison. Garmadon shows that he has no idea who Magra is, something that will become important later on, and gets shoved to the ground while ordering the Red Crows to continue to steal Toon Moon tea, but they also follow Garmadon's order to find his chicken, followed by one of the coolest speeches in the miniseries, as well as one of the best looking panels in the entire comic series. Garmadon starts to lose again and has once again gulped down a chug jug to bring forth his Oni form, and quite literally Kamehamehas Magra. Though after the dust cloud settled, it's revealed that Magra's ball necklace thing were actually canteens of Toon Moon tea and has gone even further beyond, now transformed, giving him the strength to defeat Garmadon with Min on looking the battle, runs off to help Garmadon, who finally remembers Magra, even thinking that he was dead. This issue really shows off how good the fights can look in this art style and presents really great world building. Anyway, let's move on to issue number 4. First off, this cover, is actually incredible. I love the imagery of Garmadon's past being reflected in the water, which is very fitting, since this issue begins with Garmadon blacking out in a crater, thinking Lloyd's with him, but in actuality it's Min, who's very confused by his mumbling. Back in the village, Magra announces his forceful takeover of the village, to which obviously the villagers object to, but while all this was happening, Min's mother was able to sneak out of the village with a bottle of 2 Moon tea to give to Garmadon, who collapses when Min returns him to outside the village, which gives us a flashback to the Serpentine War, where it's revealed that Magra betrayed the Elemental Master Alliance to fight with the Serpentine, so he can become king of Ninjago after the war is over, and invites Garmadon to do the same, to which he almost accepts, until Wu arrives with backup, and together they defeat Magra, with him stating that he can't wait for the snake in the garden to become a serpent, which this could be interpreted as the Great Devourer getting larger in size like in Season 1, or Garmadon eventually allowing his Oni side to take control from the Devourer's venom in its bloodstream. Back in the present, the Red Crows find Garmadon's campsite outside the village, but once again stand no chance against the villagers. This next part is a little odd from a story perspective because Min suggests using the 2 Moon tea that her mother stole to rejuvenate Garmadon, but her mother refuses to do so until she's convinced by the others to give him the tea, even though that it was clearly shown that Garmadon is willing to help the people of 2 Moon Village and has not once betrayed them to join the Red Crows. Anyway, Garmadon wakes back up at the beginning of issue 1, sleeping in the exact same forest getting attacked by his inner demons. Garmadon is unable to defeat his inner demons and is brought back to the monastery when he was a child, getting bit by the Great Devourer. His Emperor self finally disappears, telling Garmadon to defy his destiny and forge a new path instead of remaining evil. And finally, we get the best moment in all of Ninjago, with Emperor Garmadon fading into young Garmadon, asking the simple question, why does he still hold on to the memory of getting bit by the Devourer? To which he simply states, I don't know. The issue simply ends with Garmadon awakening, prepared to fight. This right here is the best issue in the entire miniseries. It really shows how much Garmadon has changed as a person thanks to the villagers of 2 Moon Village. Now, let's move on to the 5th and final issue. The issue opens with the Red Crows scaring off the bears and Garmadon staring into a pond, still hearing his past self, which is interrupted by the villagers who see off Garmadon as he leaves, and has a very heartwarming last chat with Min, who still sees the good in Garmadon. As he's walking through the forest, the bears from issue 2 come to Garmadon for help in defeating the Red Crows. And also, for the first time in Ninjago, we actually see blood, which is very surprising and took me off guard the first time I was reading the comic. The villagers plan their attack to take back their village from Magra using dynamite, but Garmadon instead suggests the idea of using the bears to overrun the Red Crows, and instead uses the dynamite to free Kuma, who at first attacks Garmadon for being an Oni, but backs off after she sees him shielding the villagers, which gives her a little bit more faith in Garmadon, believing he's changed for the better and agrees to help defeat Magra, who, back at the village, is planning his conquer of Ninjago, but is interrupted by Garmadon, the bears, and the villagers, who have returned to take back the village, leading to a large-scale battle where Magra transforms again to defeat Kuma. Garmadon has a brilliant idea of dumping as much moon tea as possible down Magra's throat, which transforms him further into a red fiery form to kamikaze the village. To take him down once and for all, Garmadon, now redeemed, transforms into a brand new Oni form, which is definitely one of the forms of all time. I don't know what it is about this design, but it just doesn't look good. I definitely think Garmadon's Oni form from Crystallized is the best design. While we're on the topic, holy crap, this art style does so much justice to this awful design from season 10. My god. Anyway, Garmadon uses the Kamehameha once more to kill Magra and brings an end to the Red Crow's attack on 2 Moon Village. The miniseries ends with the bears and villagers rebuilding the village and Garmadon leaving the village for good, leaving behind his helmet as a present for men, with this pretty somber last panel of Garmadon walking away. And that's pretty much the entirety of the Garmadon comic miniseries. Personally, I thought this was an incredible story, and does a superb job of humanizing Garmadon post-season 10. Although I really do wish this was canon and Garmadon's character is more in line with this in Crystallized instead of, well, what we got. And in all honesty, I do think this was much better than Crystallized, and I highly recommend you give this miniseries a read. I cannot stress enough how excited I am for future Ninjago comics produced by Skybound. Once again, the art was stunning, like really. I was not expecting it to be this good. Plus, the covers themselves really hype you up for what you're about to read. I also thought Garmadon's new powers were really neat, even if they were not so subtle with the anime inspirations. The concept alone of 2 Moon tea was really interesting to see how different the transformations looked, and I'd really like to see this brought into canon. Like, it could be a way the ninja try to restore their powers in the 2023 series, but also double as cool NRG minifigures to get in sets. But that's pretty much everything I have to say about the Garmadon miniseries. Overall, I'd give it a very solid 8 out of 10. Definitely a must read for any Ninjago fan. But with all that said, see ya.